I kind of expected it. It's okay. I've known you long enough to know how nice you actually are.
Oh. Silence. It's good to know deep down.
It's the worst thing when the sound guy tells everybody to silence his phone and then doesn't remember to do it himself.
Alright, everybody silence your phones, please.
Are you talking to yourself?
I was talking. Oh no, Dave's in here.
Turn off your phone!
And the music will be starting shortly.
You'll tell because you'll hear music. Moon River.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the FlappCast, Behind the Funny, where we find out what goes on behind the scenes at a comedy club. I am Barbara Holiday, your hostess with the mostest.
I'm Joshua Snyder, and I think my athlete's foot is better.
Oh, this is going to be a gross one today. All right, and we have a very special guest joining us today. It is the new dean of Flappers University, FU, where learning is a joke. Please welcome Mr. Ken Pringle.
Yay! Yeah, I have to cheer for myself. Yay!
Who the hell are you, Ken Pringle?
I'm just this guy.
No, I have to call you Ken Chuckle Monkey Pringle.
I am formerly Ken Chuckle Monkey Pringle, back when that meant something.
So, for those of you listening, you may not know, but history is right in front of us, right here. Mr. Ken Pringle, who not only was a fabulous comedian, but
What's this was?
Oh, well, still
Ouch.
is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Is a fabulous comedian, but he was like a true comedian's comedian. He started this website called Chuckle Monkey, which was like the forefront of all the open mic comedy club locations all over the country. I mean, nobody was doing this.
Yeah,
right?
back in the day, it was
What
it
day?
was a long day.
What
long
day?
Day.
When did you start it?
I started Chuckle Monkey back in November of 2002.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
wasn't even born yet.
How did the world exist before
Josh,
Twitter?
you weren't born
It's,
yet.
you know, it's amazing. It doesn't sound like it was that long ago, especially when you're older, I guess. But to put it into perspective, I tell people when I started Chuckle Monkey, there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there wasn't even a MySpace yet. MySpace didn't exist. Google was being run out of somebody's garage. Like, it was a really, really long time ago.
But you listed every open mic in the city.
Mm-hmm.
You listed every comedy club in the country. You had reviews. How did you gather all that information? Without
way too much free time. Yeah, no, I decided, you know, it started because I would go out to comedy clubs, and, you know, I was a touring comic. I would go to comedy clubs, and I'd do guest spots at different comedy clubs around at Los Angeles, and I'd always go to the open mics whenever I could. And comics would be coming up to me and saying, "Hey, where can I go perform this time or that time?" And I'd see guys, newbies, that were going up at shows like the open mic at the Laugh Factory, where back then they literally would have to wait in line for 6 hours just to maybe get 3 minutes.
horrible.
And I would ask them, I'd say, "Why are you waiting in line so long?" And they said, "Well, it's the only place I can find stage time." And I would pull out my Palm Pilot back when those were a thing.
A Palm Pilot?
Yes.
What's that? You wrote on your palm?
Indeed.
Is that how that
pen
worked?
rolling all the way up the arm. I'd say, well, here's a list of 50 places that you can find stage time any night of the week. You just have to know where it exists. And comics used to, start tracking me down, saying, "Hey, I need a place in the Valley on a Wednesday night." And I thought, rather than people bugging me, I'm just going to put up one page online of open mics in Los Angeles and let them find it themselves. And as I was building that, I thought, there's a lot of other information out there that comedians need. Somebody's got to do it. I might as well be the one to put it out there. There was a couple of websites out there that had done some small stuff. Generally what they would do is they'd list some of the major clubs in the U.S. and just like their phone number. But I can find that in a phone book. I needed information like who books the club, what are they looking for in their submissions, that kind of information. Who do I talk to if something goes wrong? And nobody had really gathered all of that information in one spot. So I took about a month initially and racked up a huge phone bill, calling clubs all over the country.
But that worked for yourself too, right? Like you probably
yeah.
got a lot of gigs out of it, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. My name definitely got out there, both pluses and minuses. There was a couple of clubs that absolutely hated me.
Why? Because they didn't want that information.
Oh
out
yes.
there?
There was There was someone in particular who will remain nameless because he's a guest of the club, who got very mad at me for posting information about the club that he worked with without his permission. And I said, well, I'm not
Well, fuck
posting
that
anything
club.
that's not
No, I
legal
don't know.
and in the public eye. But
Right.
most
Well,
clubs
now-
were super supportive of it.
Yeah, but it's funny because nowadays, all that, bless you, Josh Snyder.
Just Josh dying over here on the couch.
Yeah.
Paying
Well,
attention.
Richie, I guess, is coming
Reverse
down with
sneeze.
a cold, and I'm worried that I'm going to catch it now, and then
Yes,
it's Ebola. That's
because
why
you
it's-
are the master worrier,
That's
of
correct.
course.
Yes.
Preemptive sneeze.
Yes.
Got it.
So, well, what's interesting though is that that's all changed now because you can
Oh,
go
yeah.
on Google and get any information you want about any of these clubs.
Oh yeah. The stand-up comedy scene has changed a lot since I
Right.
started that.
What happened to the site? And
Well, the site was doing really well for a number of years.
in fact,
its
we
heyday-
advertised on it.
Yes, Uncle Clyde's Comedy Competition
Yep,
was actually
yep.
our very first advertiser on Chuckle Monkey. Back before I'd even thought about putting advertisers on there, I got an email from a young comedian named Barbara Holiday who said,
was a young
"We would
comedian."
like to promote to LA Comics, and you seem like a good place to do it. If we give you $20, will you put up a graphic of our show?"
Was that
And I said,
it?
"I like $20." So yeah,
$20?
It was $20. I still remember
What
that.
a steal!
I had no idea what to charge. I had no idea what the going rate was for anything or how to track click-throughs. My first month, I remember talking to my mom and bragging, "We got 300 people on the website this month. It's amazing."
Where did the name Chuckle Monkey come from? I mean, what was
it was
yeah,
an insult for comics. I was at a road show and some random drunk guy in the audience was getting mad because I was just kind of futzing around and went back for a drink, and he yelled up at me, "Make with the jokes, Chuckle Monkey!" And I was like, "That is awesome. That you, sir, have created history."
It's funny how those names come about, huh? Because
Yeah.
you'd sit there and think about it. You couldn't come up with such a good name.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And some bozo yelled it at you.
Yelled it out, and that was it. I was woohoo, insult.
Show you, audience monkey.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a big thing. The problem was I never built Chuckle Monkey to be a profit generator. That was never my intention. It was just going to be something that helped comics.
By comedians, for comedians.
Exactly.
You've been beating yourself up ever since.
Oh, you can tell me. I actually had offers to purchase it a couple of times from big companies. At one point, I
And
was
you
talking
said
with
no.
National Lampoon.
Oh.
At one point, AOL wanted it, and I turned them down. We never got that far in the negotiations, but early on, they always made it very clear that they wanted to turn it into a subscription-based service. And I'd seen other sites fail that way, and I thought that a lot of this information needed to be free for comics to be able to develop. So
Oh, Ken Pringle.
I know,
You're so nice.
I'm like the saint of comedy, which the nice thing is it now allows me to be a jerk for the rest of my career.
Well, there was one thing, if I don't mind, I just have to bring it up, because the only thing I didn't like about your site was the poo flinging board.
Yes.
You had something called the poo flinging board.
Blue flinging message boards.
And
Which
there was some poo on there.
I initially thought, boy, it would be great to have a place where comedians could vent their troubles without fear of reprisal from comedy club owners, and that was a terrible, terrible plan.
It was the beginning of Twitter and social media in a way. I mean, it was brilliant, honestly, because you had that thought in mind of it was sort of like a Yelp in a way.
Exactly.
You know?
It was sort of like a very early concept, like
Comedy.
a Yelp type of thing, where you could go on and say, "Hey, I work this club." My initial thought in my rose-colored world was that comics would go on there and say, "Hey, this club, the booker, screwed me out of $200 and my check bounced. Be warned, don't go work for that guy."
Right.
I really didn't see it going further than that, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it just became a place for
Shit.
all of the bile to just unleash from people.
Do we have an example that?
Do you remember the worst thing someone said on there?
No.
Do you have all that data?
Somewhere,
I
yeah,
know.
somewhere on my backup drives.
Deep
Because
in
that, and then the other one that caused me so much trouble, and I hated it from the moment I launched it, was something called the hack list,
Oh, yeah.
which was
I remember that.
originally, again, the best of intentions, supposed to be a list where you could go and look and say, "Hey, airplane food has been done a bunch of times. Comics say that's a pretty hack topic. Maybe I won't explore it." And instead, it just became a place to anonymously attack another comic that you didn't like and write out his entire set list as the hackiest thing ever. And it
Right.
was just, it would be back and forth
Yeah.
between comics. It was pretty ugly.
But I'm going to have to steal some of that for my book, I See Dumb People. I might have to pay you to recover that hard drive.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
serious.
it's still
There's
buried
some-
somewhere, yeah.
But then you moved on from that. Of course, you're still performing and everything, and then you ended up working for Vince Offer, who
did,
is the
yeah.
guy who created the ShamWow.
I did, yeah. I've worn a lot of different hats in the business.
Wait, his last name is Offer?
Offer.
You know, actually, it
Seriously.
is and it isn't.
Is that his stage? Oh,
No,
yeah.
well, the thing is, everybody says that,
Can we
you know,
talk about this?
I don't know if I'm supposed to,
Okay.
but I'm going to say it anyways.
All right.
Because Vince is a good guy, and
Yeah.
he won't get too upset with me. He,
I love the
It's,
ShamWow. I have to tell you, it's the
everyone
greatest
assumes
invention
that
ever.
Offer is a fake name. They go, oh, he sells Offer, it's a fake name. It's not. His real name is Ofer, but you can't pronounce it well when you're a dumb American. So
Right.
yeah, his
he
actual name is
French?
Ofer Shlomi. Yeah, he's from Israel.
Israel.
And so...
Shlomi?
Shlomi.
Yeah.
Is that Shlomi Shlamwow?
Careful,
I'm
careful.
how did that come about?
So yeah, so he switched it. He made Offer the last name, and Vince is actually the big part, not the Offer part.
What's the real one then?
No, it's Ofer. Ofer's his first name, actually.
Ofer Shlomi.
Ofer.
But he's gone by Vince for years and years and years. This is just
Right.
That's for legal stuff.
Right.
But yeah, he's gone by Vince since he was a teenager.
How did you end up doing production work for him?
Well, initially I met Vince at a party. We were just hanging out at this party,
You were
having
flinging
some
poo.
drinks. Well,
And then a drink spilled, and he took out his...
exactly.
Look at this.
If I hadn't spilled that drink, nothing would have happened. No, he had, he'd just come off the success of ShamWow and just done Slapchop, and he was doing pretty well for himself. He's
Slapchop?
always
What's
loved
Slapchop? I
comics.
don't know the Slapchop.
Oh,
Oh, is that the thing that you
the
hit it and it
yeah,
chops
Yeah, you're gonna love my
onions?
nuts. That thing. Yeah,
Oh.
it was huge hit.
Yeah, and other people copied it.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
crazy,
The
'cause I
Slapchop
bought
rap
one.
was a huge viral
Yeah,
hit. Like that was
yeah.
all over the place.
Wow.
But I met him at a party, and we just got talking, and he'd been approached by the rapper Eminem to do a viral video. And he said, I don't know if it's going to be that funny. They just want me to do like this fake infomercial thing. I don't know.
Ooh,
And I was like,
funny
are you
idea.
kidding me? And I just started randomly pitching jokes. And he said, well, you know, do you want to help me write this thing? So what comic turns down work? And it just grew from there. I've ended up doing a lot of different projects that involve Vince. We did what ended up becoming a video called MWow, which was for Eminem and Interscope Records. It was on during the NBA Finals. It was a big thing. I worked on other products for his company, including I did a ShamWow commercial. I worked on Slapchop. I was one of the writers and producers for Sticky, which was a huge hit in infomercials, the
And-
reusable lint roller.
Imagine before Shark Tank. This was all kind of even before Shark
Oh,
Tank.
long before Shark Tank,
If
yes.
you took these products on Shark Tank now, man.
You know,
it'd
the funny
be
thing is,
like-
I hear that all the time. People say, "Oh, you should have taken it on Shark Tank," but what they don't realize is that the company's already funding all that
Right,
stuff.
Shark
They
Tank
don't need
steals
extra
your money, and Shark Tank takes a percentage of your profits.
I wouldn't
Just like,
surprise me.
yeah,
I don't know what their deal
that's
is.
the deal.
But, you know,
Oh,
they're-
yeah.
they're pretty smart people over there.
Wait,
Can't there be a loving reality version of that, like Dolphin Tank, where it's only constructive criticism?
Minnow Tank. What about that?
We won't shed your blood, but we will beat you with our bottle noses for an hour.
Can't there be,
Hilarious.
you know, listen, it's not a great idea, but, you know, you're still loved. That's what I want.
As long as they just applaud him off the stage, going, ah!
Those, but that must have been fun. You got to do a lot of production
Oh
work.
yeah,
and
yeah. Well, I ended up working as a writer and producer, co-directed a commercial, a lot of different jobs on that stuff. And then the big thing that we did was the movie.
Oh, which you called me about to snag some talent.
Yes.
Wait,
Yes.
ShamWow movie?
No.
No, it was a movie
It was
that came out
an
last year
MWow
called
movie.
Inappropriate Comedy.
Uh-huh.
It was Rob Schneider and Adrian Brody and Michelle Rodriguez and Lindsay Lohan and because I've been in stand-up comedy for so long, I made sure that we got some stand-up comics in it that I'm a big fan of, like Theo Vaughn and Ari Shaffir and guys like that. And yeah, it was a crazy project. That was a big deal. We made a big film. You know, it was a sketch comedy movie, sort of a Kentucky Fried movie kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
It's out on Netflix now. You can go and
Oh,
not
it
pay
is.
for it, which is always great.
Well, it's interesting that someone who made a lot of money in that business then decides. A lot of people do that. Just decide to make projects, TV or film projects. You know?
In Vince's case in particular, it was really unique, and it was the reason I was so happy to be able to help him with that. Was that film had been his dream project for years?
Oh, that's cool.
And here was
You
a
mean
guy.
ShamWow wasn't his dream? No.
Surprisingly, no. He
It's my dream.
He'd actually started doing sketches on public access TV when he was a kid, long before there was YouTube or
They're
anything.
all comedians deep down.
Yeah, and that's doing sketch work. That was his thing. He loved that. In fact, it's kind of funny. He wanted to do an independent film back in the '90s. Ended up doing it called Underground Comedy Movie. To finance that movie, he had to come up with the money somewhere. So he used to go to flea markets and swap meets and stuff and sell chamois cloths and choppers. And that's how he saved up his money. And that was what led into ShamWow and Slapchop, which the success of those was what came back to letting him finally, realize his dream.
Yeah, Shakespeare did the same thing.
When I
exactly.
when I hear slap
The shaky.
I was thinking slap chop. It's like the bitchy mom of Lamb Chop. I'm gonna slap chop you, Lamb Chop.
Wow, you're dating
No?
yourself a little
That-
bit there, Barbara.
that was an age
Is Lamb
problem.
Chop still around?
Listen.
Lamb
It
Chop
is
is a
sing the
puppet.
song and
It
then
is
take
never.
the rest
It is
of this
never.
ass.
It is never too. It is never wrong to do a lamb chop reference.
That
I don't
is-
care how.
Thank you very much.
But 500 years in the future,
She's supposed to come to our 2-month minimum show.
Really?
Lamb Chop still exists.
I would actually
Lamb Chop or
that
Sherry
is
Lewis.
awesome.
No, I think the granddaughter does the Lamb Chop now or something.
Is it still the same puppet?
Yes, I believe so. Well, let's just pretend it is. I mean, why would we ever tell?
that's a little
say,
creepy. That's a
See,
little.
you bag on my Lamb Chop reference, and that's fine.
But I would actually come and
Right.
see that show. If they were here...
I
in the
told
room, I would
you
be
no
here.
wool socks ever. Slap chop. See, that's what I. For some reason, I don't know. Where do they get these names for all these products? Like it's so. It is funny. You must have had a comedy background.
Vince had like a knack
Obviously.
for that. I don't know how he does it, but I remember when we were creating the sticky, we went through a bunch of different tests and focus groups and stuff, and we came up with probably 40 different names. The very first name that Vince came up with was Sticky.
Sticky.
And every time we pitch something else, he'd go, I think it's gonna be Sticky. I think it's Sticky. I think that's what we're gonna come back to. And it was sure enough. That guy had just a weird touch for that.
Based on that impression,
Did
it
you-
makes me think that your boss is also Jay Leno. Is that true?
Did you write the sticky for the sticky?
It's funny that Vince does like all this like outlandish humor, and he's he's so edgy and all that stuff. His absolute favorite stand-up comedian is Jay Leno. Obsessed with Jay Leno, loves him.
Ooh.
Which just the most like mainstream vanilla kind of guy. You
But he
would
didn't
think
used
of.
to be.
Yeah.
He didn't used to be that.
Well, but if you're going way back there, sure. But nowadays, and I mean,
Right.
now-
Well, we stole you, Ken. See, now we stole Ken for our Flappers University because
you did.
we are so excited to have you in charge. Shannon Gettins, who was our dean, is still with us. She's going to be teaching classes, but she's getting married to a big music guy. I can't name names, and she's traveling all over the world going to cool music events, and she'll be teaching again in January.
Yeah.
But Ken is got a new lease on this university, and
Yeah, you
what
brought
are
me
your-
in because, as any good booker knows, the best thing to get in here is a fallen celebrity at a discount price.
Right.
So you tracked
And
me
you
down.
told, what about the free ShamWows, right? And
those are
stickies.
coming. One of these days,
We get
they're
we
on
get
the train.
Sticky slap stops and ShamWows. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Well, but you did so much. I mean,
I did. I was
producing and
I was an
writing
agent
and yeah.
for a very brief,
We
unsuccessful
won't talk
period.
about
I was
that.
terrible.
You
at it.
hate that. Was it a big company though?
Yeah, I was briefly the personal appearances agent for Maverick Artists Agency.
Oh, Maverick.
I actually helped them build their comedians division. I repped a lot of major comedians.
Was there anyone that's
Oh.
big now? That
Oh,
was
you,
little
yeah.
then?
Actually, yes. There's one in particular. This gal Pat, who I've known Pat for years. Pat came in, and Pat was the manager for Gabriel Iglesias when
Buckles.
Gabe was just
Pat
getting
Buckles.
Buckles, yes.
Mhm.
When Gabe was just getting big, and I was talking to Pat. I said, "Oh, how's Gabe doing?" She goes, "Oh, he's doing really well. He's making all this money. He's making like $10,000 a weekend, which is chump change for him now, but big then." I said, "That's so great." And she goes, actually, that's why I want to talk to you. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, is she going to bring Gabe to me? Because I'd love that. But no, Gabe was with a far bigger agent than me. She said, I know you've seen Gabe's act, and Gabe's got this friend of his that wants to do stand-up comedy, and I thought maybe you could help him out. It's this guy named Felipe Esparza, and I'm like, how am I going to book this guy. I'm just going to call clubs and say, well, he's friends with Gabe. Can you give him a headlining weekend? And then, of course, Felipe goes on to win Last Comic Standing and makes tons of money
so
after leaving me. So
Oh.
I clearly had no idea what I was doing in that job because Felipe's hilarious.
Well, you're a great instructor. I know that because you also started to teach some classes on your own.
I did.
Specifically on the business side of comedy, which we love.
Yeah. I used to do both regular stand-up comedy classes with Chuckle Monkey, and then I also did the Chuckle Monkey GoPro class, which was all about
GoPro.
the business side and what you
Not
need
the
to-
camera. Not the camera.
No.
No.
Not the. Not,
This was before
This was
the camera.
pre-GoPro camera. I can't use that name anymore.
Oh.
It's trademarked.
GoPro.com.
GoPro.com. Yes, something like that.
Pro.
Could you do comedy?
Go
Wow.
Comedy Pro.
Comedy Wow?
Wow.
I probably could, but I mean, do I want to, really?
Slap comedy. Come on. Sticky comedy class.
I like
Flat
wow.
chop.
I just love all those names. They're so much fun. No, you have big plans for the
I
university.
do. That's one of the things I'm really excited
Tell
about
us
here for the
about
rest
it.
of the year.
What's
Well,
up?
I want to change some of the things that we've done with Flappers University so we can really be built to grow out more. I mean, I know Shannon's done some amazing work here. Obviously, you guys have done incredible work with Flappers as a comedy club. I mean, this is the best comedy club in Los Angeles. It's phenomenal.
I
I'm
pay
not
them off.
just saying that because you signed my paycheck.
I do? Oh,
Yes, yeah, technically.
I forgot.
It's technically a paycheck.
technically.
But
It's a comedy paycheck.
It's
Come
a
on.
comedy paycheck.
Don't make
Our
a
comedy
joke.
paycheck
It is not a
pretty
joke.
good. But yeah, I really want to grow what we're doing with Flappers University. One of the things I really want to focus on is bringing in more one-day seminars and workshops
great
that
idea.
focus on a lot of the little things that comics need to know peripherally to their career. I think there's a lot of classes in LA that talk about how to become a stand-up comic as far as crafting an act and writing a joke, and I do think that with the teachers we have, we do it better than anyone in Los Angeles. But I feel like there's other things that comedians need to know, and I want to make sure they can come to Flappers and learn it. Things about how to book TV warm-up work, how to work in different fields, like writing for late-night television and things like that.
Well, this
Things that you
week,
need to know for your career.
and this week during the festival, we got to sort of give a little
Absolutely,
perusal
yeah.
of that. We last week we had our Burbank Comedy Festival, and we had classes, 2 of them every single morning, and they were an example of these kinds
They were,
of classes. that
yeah.
you-
People got to come in and learn a lot of different things, and if you wanted to dabble in improv,
And they
you
were
could
3
do
hours,
it.
so little nuggets.
3-hour little nuggets.
Yeah.
I want to bring a lot more of those to Flappers, including a couple of things that we've never really done before.
Like,
Right, I was actually just talking today with a teacher who's going to come in here and teach a class on social media for comedians.
ooh, great
How to put
idea.
together your Facebook and your Twitter and
Love
your
it.
Reddit and your Instagram and everything that you need to know to make sure that your online presence represents your career effectively.
So important. So important.
I've got a concept that I'm working on for a class that's all about your headshots and your press kits and what you're putting out there as far as your vision and what you look like online and in the clubs. I mean, there's a lot of little things about that comics don't understand. I want to give you an opportunity to come in and get headshots through Flappers. There's a lot of comics that are doing their headshots as a selfie on their camera, and you don't operate on yourself. Don't build your career yourself. You need to go to an outside expert.
Yeah, well, video editing is another
video
one
editing,
that with you have a lot of experience there
Yes,
too.
I'm working on a workshop on creating and owning your own online content.
Right, perfect.
Because I think that's something that's vital for comedians today.
And there's a lot that's something I know that we're still learning, and I know is going to change a lot over the next couple of years, specifically with Hulu and Netflix and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We hopefully can get people a little more informed about how to sell.
Yeah, that
your
world
own
is changing
content.
so
Quickly.
rapidly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny that I talk about this because it's actually an old story now, going back 5 or 6 years, but it still feels recent to me. You look at a case of a guy like Bo Burnham, who, I mean, his entire multi-million-dollar career was built on YouTube videos,
Right.
on playing his piano in his bedroom as a kid. And that's not an unusual story nowadays. There's more and more comedians that are coming out, having built a career online
Well,
before
Josh,
they really hit the
Josh
switches.
played with something in his bedroom, but I don't think he videotaped it.
Please tell me.
How
you
did we
videotaped
jump
it.
there? How did we jump?
I was just thinking how many people have done stupid
The
things in
sad
their
thing was,
bedroom.
it wasn't me that
But it-
made the reference. It was the nice-looking woman sitting right here, the one you wouldn't expect it of. It's not one of the two degenerates.
Yeah, well, Josh had shitty sex a couple of months ago.
Hey Josh, did you tape yourself doing that shticky? And get it on YouTube. You can
No,
go
I-
viral with it.
Although it'd
I
be a
think
very,
he got
very
it
short
by-
clip.
I think he got a virus with it, actually.
Don't say that. Don't do this to me.
Master Worrier in
I still have to get
action.
tested.
Well, there's lots. We're so excited to have you on board, Ken Pringle. You bring such a great energy and
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
expertise in so many areas. If you haven't had a chance to meet Ken, you have to come in and say hello. Or
Which
You could
that's-
say he's a real Ken Wow.
yeah, well, wait.
Thank you.
No, he's a Pringle. Every time I say his name, it makes me hungry. Ken Pringle. Yummy.
I used to try to make a once you pop, you can't stop type reference, but it just sounds so sexual. And I'm pretty sure there's some kind of harassment video that tells me I can't do that now that I'm an employee, so.
And you're getting married soon.
I am. I'm getting married in 2 months.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh! And
Yeah.
how is your lady in comedy? I don't-
No, actually, it's kind of funny. She's one of the only women I've ever dated that has nothing to do with the entertainment industry whatsoever.
Yay!
It was actually the first thing that attracted to her when we first met. We were chatting online, and she said, well, what do you do for a living? So I started listing off the huge resume, and she was it was the first time I ever had a woman get all that information and just go, oh, that's nice, and then move on to another topic. Which, on the one hand, I was like, hey, she really likes me for me, and on the other hand, I was like, oh no, she likes me for me. My resume is my A game when I have nothing else to go to.
What does she do?
She's actually training to become a sommelier, which
Is that
Is that someone in Somalia?
I went there too. She's
here I
learning to-
was
Do they
thinking I
bring-
was sitting down with classy people for a
They
moment.
bring food to little African children?
You have to train to go to Somalia. Really? I didn't know they were that stringent.
Sommelier is when you go to a restaurant
Is
where
this
you
another
don't bring
product?
a coupon and you can't get in on a half-off discount. It's basically the wine steward. It's the person
Ooh, I
who does
like
all
her.
the wine pairings at like fancy 5-star
Ooh,
restaurants.
when do I get to meet her?
I'll bring her in here one of these
I
days.
think, wait, she did come into the club once.
Very briefly, she
But
stopped
I-
by and like waited outside the door because she'd heard so many things, that happened inside the den of depravity that is a comedy club that she was a little concerned about walking in here.
Yes, we actually tell her we have a pretty good wine list. We have
You do?
We have La Crema Pinot Noir,
Yep.
which is my favorite.
For the
you
people
know.
who haven't actually been to Flappers yet, that is one of the things that I said to you when I first got here is the menu at Flappers is unlike any comedy club I've ever seen, and I've been to comedy clubs all over the country, and I've never seen a menu like Flappers. Every club I ever go to, if they even have food,
Well,
it's chicken fingers and nachos.
But we need to have, let's see if I get this right, a sommelier,
Hey, way to go!
such as your lovely lady, to come in and give us some advice on our wines.
Well,
Do you think-
sommeliers do normally make about $100,000 a year.
Well, maybe we don't
So-
need her to come in for all, but we'll keep her in mind.
Please don't hire her for more money than I make. That'll be so awkward.
Yeah,
Do you think they're Jedi sommeliers?
Jedi sommelier.
it's such a classy sommelier. I mean, what a title of all
You
the
want
things.
your red wine. You don't need the red wine.
So wait.
The red wine does not go good with this bit.
So in your wedding vows, you're like, the guy was shticky and the sommelier are getting married. That is really interesting.
Basically, my life story sounds like a Jewish joke.
S? Everything's an S. ShamWow, sommelier, shticky.
She's teaming with Ken.
He does the sham wow. He's married a sommelier. He's such a schlemiel.
She's teaming with Ken.
Shlameki.
She's teaming with Ken to do the sommelier wow.
I'm sure they're going to be doing that in a couple of months now. Josh.
Hey, now.
Let's just let
Whoa.
it bada boom. We lose you for you're getting married and Shannon are getting married in the same month.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I'm only going to be gone.
Hopefully
for
not the
about
same
2
person,
weeks.
because that would be tough.
No,
Well,
they're
that would be
different.
awkward, especially
Right.
since he's a dude.
Right.
Right.
And that's not really my thing. I kind of went out and found a woman to avoid that being my thing. So yeah, that'd be weird.
No, but Ken's on the guy side, so your lovely lady
yeah.
is probably doing all the work.
Oh yeah, I told her, I said,
Just gonna
she
show up.
was worried when we were dating that I wasn't going to propose, and I kept telling her I'm going to do it, it's going to happen, and I said just let me do this in my own time because this is the one thing I have control over. Once the ring is on your finger, I'm basically a prop. Anything that happens after that, I am a prop. You just position me where you want me.
Aw.
Tell me what to say. Pull the
Gee,
string in my
too
back.
bad you're
That's pretty much
taken.
it.
All right. What's your lovely lady's name?
Her name is Deb.
Deb, if we might,
Yes.
if we may embarrass her on the air.
Yes.
Sorry.
Deb is my
Deb
lovely
the
lady.
sommelier.
Deb, the future sommelier. I'm
Deb
very
the
proud of her. She's so much smarter than I am.
She's gonna support you.
She's
I like
gonna
it.
know about Pinot Noir and all that, and I'm gonna be like, well, let me give you another dick joke. Here we go.
Josh knows about Pinot. Now he does.
She's Pinot Noir. I'm Penis Noir.
To fill you, I lost my virginity 2 months ago.
I don't think Ken knew
Wow,
that.
so
Yeah.
proud and a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the
why
right.
I'm making all the
What's really awkward is that
shticky
your Twitter handle is still Nerdy Virgin.
I
isn't
know.
It?
Yes, it is.
Are you
Yeah.
going to just like have to change your entire act now? Because that's what I'm
Yes,
doing.
yes,
So
I
much
am.
of my act is about being single, and I'm just
Uh-oh.
screwed.
Yeah.
Single Pringle.
Yeah, that was it for a long time.
Now what are you gonna call it?
I don't know. Sucker Pringle?
Yeah. Tied up.
Somali, hey! I don't know.
Pringle and chain. But
Oh, there's a lot. Well, let's tell our listeners where they can find out more about the university and what you're doing with it and all
absolutely.
that.
Any information on the university can be found at the aptly named flappersuniversity.com.
F you!
That's right, F-U. We're learning this
Flappers
joke.
University.
There's always information there, obviously at flapperscomedy.com. And, come down to the club and meet me in person. One of the things that I said I was going to do from the moment I came in here is the Flappers does their happy hour auditions every Wednesday and Thursday. That's how you get seen by Dave Reinitz, the club owner, and 49% club owner, and and Rich Leese, the booker. It's a great
And
opportunity
me
to get seen by them,
sometimes.
and you sometimes.
If somebody's great, you're gonna let me
Well,
know.
I promised them that I would
That's how
sit
that
in on
works.
every one of those shows.
And you
So
have.
I have. I am here watching every one of those shows. It's a good chance to come and get seen by me as well. On top of that, I've promised that anyone who asks me, I will always provide feedback after those shows.
Ooh.
So if you're looking to get a quick 3-minute consultation on, hey, what'd you think of my act and how do we break it down? Come on out, audition for the club, you get seen by the people who matter, and then track me down on the patio afterwards and, get a free 5-minute lesson. So
Great. And what's your Twitter? Is it sticky?
it is not. You can hit me up on Twitter at MrKenPringle.com.
Mr.
Only because the actual non-Mr. Ken Pringle handle was already taken by some guy who's literally tweeted once, and it was just a hashtag for some esurance commercial.
I like Mr. Ken Pringle. It
I
sounds
had to
very
throw something
formal.
out there,
Yes.
Yeah,
At Mr. Ken Pringle.
I was gonna go Dean Ken Pringle, but
No,
trying to keep it down.
Right. Well, this leads very nicely into our wonderful Punch It Up segment, which we do every week, where we ask a couple of comics to come on and do about 3 minutes.
Awesome.
And then they're going to hear this lovely sound effect by our sound guy, if he's awake. Oh! When they're done. And then we're going to bring them on over, interview them, and maybe give them a few tags or ideas to punch
Wait, I
up
wanna say- Brent,
their
you-
act.
Cool.
Yeah.
Brent said, what are you doing?
Well, first we definitely have Brendan Cooney is here.
Well, right. Before I bring him up, just curious. I was just wanted to know what Brent.
Just going over.
Brent Lowry is
Plotting
sitting
Just
your
here.
working.
demise.
You're
Brent
just working.
Lowry is
We're
our
trying to
co-producer.
put on an entertainment. You're just back there. Oh, I'll just use this. As
Well, Brent was our co-producer on the comedy festival, so he's cleaning up.
He's not awake yet.
No, we're still in
The festival
recovery.
only ended 3 days ago.
Yes,
He's
yes.
A
still
podcast is
It
something
ended?
if you're in another room, you put it on as like background noise. That's fine. But to actually treat this
it
as
as
background noise,
when
we
it's
sit right the
frontground
fuck
noise.
there.
Well, why don't we throw him into Punch It Up after Brendan?
We might just do. All right, maybe.
Okay,
Let's see.
but
Okay.
first,
do it in
let's
shades.
bring
First-
up our first comedian.
Brendan Cooney, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome.
Hey, before I get started, let me just say that I see you guys out there as just as much audience members as them. It's not every day you get to go in front of the Employee of the Month and get congratulations. I'm a middle-class white guy, so it was either stand-up comedy or anything else I wanted to do. When I was growing up, my parents told me, you could be president someday, and I said, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be a Ninja Turtle. That's what I want to do. Growing up, I wanted to fight crime, but recently, I found myself on the wrong side of it. I actually got stopped and frisked by the Burbank Police Department a few weeks ago. And my favorite question they asked me throughout the whole thing was, "Do you have anything in your hat, sir?" I've never wanted to be a magician more than in that moment. "What, officer? In my hat?" "Well, no, why, except for this flock of doves." You know, and if I was a magician, I would just kept going with it. Like, "Do you have anything in your pocket, sir?" "Only your badge, officer. I think you're going to need that." "Is there anything in your shoes?" "Just this baggie of cocaine." "Darn it! I'm too talented for my own good." You know, but I don't blame the cops for messing with me, though, because if I was a cop, I'd mess with them too. You know, like I pulled somebody over, like, "All right, get out of the car. Walk in a straight line for me. All right, now follow my finger with your eyes. Now, sell me this pen." Just because I think it would be funny to see like a drunk person have to do that. Like, "Hey, take the pen, it's good, because you can write with it. And that's the pen, you got your name." I'd be like, "I was just kidding, man. I smelled the liquor on your breath the second I pulled you over. You're going to jail, dirtbag. Can I tell you guys about my dream? Is that cool? Can I share my dream with you?"
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Cool. My dream is that I take my car into the auto shop one day and have any idea what those guys are talking about. I'm starting to think they're just making stuff up. Because I took my car in once to get inspected, and the guy comes down, he's like, "Okay, listen, there's a one tire, cannot pass. The other three tires are okay, but they need to be replaced. There's a leak, there's a problem with the transmission, and there's a ghost in the car. If there's a ghost in the car, I have to go to Ghostbusters, going to be extra 10%. And I believed him because it can't just be me leaving all the trash in that car, you know. Doesn't make sense. A few weeks later, I was driving the same car and I got pulled over by the cops. Cop gets out and he's like, "Did you know that your back right taillight was out, sir?" And I was like, "Do you think I'd have gotten this drunk if I knew my back right taillight was out? What do you think, I'm a maniac?" And he was like, "Do you have any drugs or weapons in your car?" And I told him the truth. It's impossible to tell under all this trash. Then he wanted me to go through all these sobriety tests, and I hadn't really been drinking, so I passed them all. But he wasn't happy with that, so he wanted to check my pulse. So he grabs my wrist and he goes, "It's fast. You're nervous." And I was like, "Well, I did just find out that there's a ghost in my car, sir, so I am pretty nervous. I can't catch a break, though. You know, I'm always messing up. Like, I can't even pronounce the names of the coffees at Starbucks correctly. I was in there the other day and I asked for a tall caramel mamase mamasama makusa. They don't have that. Don't ask for that at Starbucks. Got a clap from one of our brilliant audience members. Another thing, I'm jealous of the people at Starbucks, you know, that are writing on their screenplays. Because, like, for me to write, I gotta be, like, alone in my room, like, no music, and a guy sitting next to me going, "Write or die, pansy!" That's my writing process. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
All right, Brendan.
Keep it light.
You grab that mic, come over and talk to us,
Hello,
Brenda.
Brendan.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And you, I want to thank you also for doing social media on our comedy festival. We really appreciate that, and that just is awesome that you were able to help out.
You're welcome.
How long have you been doing comedy?
About 3 years.
And you haven't taken any classes here at Flappers yet, right?
No. I moved here from Arlington, Virginia about
Oh.
2 years ago, and I did it there for about a year.
Virginia, a lot of comedy in Virginia.
Yeah, there's a good scene out there. You know, a lot of open mics. It's like right next to D.C., so it's Maryland and Virginia. You can hit up all those
DC
places.
Improv, great place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like doing comedy at the White House. I mean, that is, you know.
They're doing comedy in the White House every day.
Right, that's
Bum, bum.
funny.
It's my next show is at the White House.
So, Ken, do you want to start, or do you
Absolutely.
have
I
something?
thought it was. You did a great job there. I thought you had some really funny stuff. I want to explore a couple of things with you. Now, the story about being pulled over by the cop here in Burbank, that really happened?
Yeah.
It did. Okay. When that actually happened, the real story, not the jokes. How did it make you feel? Like, what was your attitude on that experience?
I was super scared. I mean, I actually got pulled over in my driveway. And what happened?
Wow.
Are you kidding? That's great.
Yeah, so I pulled into the driveway and my roommates had parked there. I didn't see their car, so I'm stopped. And then when I'm stopped, the cop pulls out like right behind me, so it looks like kind of suspicious because I'm trying to pull out. So he stops me and he gets out and he tells me about the taillight, and I was like super scared talking to him.
Now, see,
Only in Burbank can you get pulled over
Who gets
in
pulled
your
over
own
in a
driveway.
That's awesome. Now, see, right there, that is a great example. What you were just telling us right there was actually more interesting to me in a way than what you were talking about on stage. Not because what you were doing on stage wasn't well written, because it was. the reason this was more interesting to us is because you had a stronger emotional connection to it. It wasn't, hey, here's a crazy thing that happened to me. It was, I was really scared, and this is why it freaked me out. The stronger you can make your emotional connection to your material, the easier it's going to be for your audience to relate to you. One of the things I always tell my students is make mountains out of molehills and molehills out of mountains. If this was something that was a minor irritant to you or kind of scared you, when you're telling it on stage, it's terrifying. Make a bigger deal out of it than it really is. Because this isn't something that's going to ruin your life, it's an irritant.
Well,
So,
and my issue with that bit was what happened. Like, you kind of left us dangling. Like, we didn't know if you actually got arrested
Yeah,
or
there was no
did you get a ticket. What did happen?
I asked him at one point, I was like, is this the sort of thing, after I realized he wasn't going to arrest me, I was like, is this the sort of thing you get a ticket for? And he was like, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. And we sort of, my address is different, so he thought, like, that I was lying to him, and they thought I was lying to him about the address, too. He was like, what? Because I told him, I was like, I'm in my driveway. He was like, well, what's the address here? And I was like, 2124 Amber Street.
yeah.
Now everybody knows where I live on the podcast.
So for the address, though, you should be, he goes, what's the address? And you're like,
Yeah, I just look around like, that's good.
you know, right?
That's funny.
So I actually had that same note, was like, what actually happened? Because you kind of, if you start something like that, you kind of need to,
Yeah, we
need
need
to
to
know.
find where the story goes.
Okay.
But that's funny.
And then, like I was saying, I would just play up the emotional connection to it. Try exploring that same story from the perspective of how terrifying it was. And if you want to get into some of your retorts there, which were very funny, take it from the emotional connection of, like, I was so scared. I wish I was brave enough to say blah 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 blah.
Can I just say that you look like a cop?
Yeah,
You kind of do, yeah.
I know that sounds
People
weird,
do
but
say that.
the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, like, you actually look like you could be a cop.
Did they pull him over because they thought it was his shift?
Right, they're like, hey,
was a-
Brendan, what's up?
I was a cop once in this the short film, and everybody thought I was really a cop.
Oh,
They kept
man.
asking me about
There-
cops questions, like, how do I get to this place? And I was like, oh, it's extra.
Well,
In a
when you
cop
were
outfit.
talking up front about being white and, all that might, and you did a lot of cop stuff. You actually went to the mechanic and then you came back to cop stuff,
Yeah.
which was one of my notes, and I thought, but he actually looks like, you could have fun with that scenario.
Like, hey, I'm one of you guys, or I look like one of you guys.
Right. You definitely, you're that type. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to
Definitely.
jump on
No,
you.
no, that
there.
was-
Is
no,
there
that's
anything
great.
else?
I would just say that were you a little nervous up here?
Yeah,
I felt like you were rushing some of
yeah.
your material a little bit.
I usually go slower.
Have confidence, because it's good material. You're doing good stuff up there.
Thank you.
What happens when you rush is you tend to bury your punchlines a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ghost in the car, which was a great punchline. You buried in the middle where it just sounded like it was in the middle of a bit.
Mhm, yeah.
Hit your rule of 3. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. You've got a ghost in your car. Boom. Take a beat. Let that punchline live on its own. Give the audience a chance to absorb it and laugh at it. Then move on to your next spot. If you rush through it, even though we don't consciously understand it, subconsciously the audience is going to interpret that as you're not confident in what you're talking about,
Yeah.
so why should I care?
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
So,
I had one note too about the Mexican at the car place. You kind of tweeted out on that a little bit, like you started to do a little accent, but then you kind of, I don't know, you weren't like totally committed to it.
how
And
Mexican was he?
Yeah.
your
It's very
car,
ethnic.
your car was actually fixed in Tijuana. Is that how Mexican he was?
I was actually back in Virginia, and he really he went through all this stuff, and I was like, what if he just said there was a ghost in the car too? Like,
Right.
Get that out.
I love that you tried to do a callback to that later on, which is
Yeah.
that's something that, that's an
That's
advanced
an-
comedic
yeah.
technique. A lot of comics
Good.
don't understand how to do effective callbacks, so to see you attempt that is really a good sign.
What do you do for a living right now?
Right now, I work at a restaurant and I walk dogs.
Are you talking about that at all?
The
Please, Lord.
the
come on.
restaurant a little bit, but the dogs it seems to have been I just don't think it's funny to talk about how you have to pick up poop and how
Oh,
you
it-
miscarry
I-
off
It's
the
not
poop.
funny.
I
It's not
completely
funny to
disagree.
talk about yourself at all. It's not funny to. I disagree as well. You
I should then.
Well, you need to talk about what you know.
Okay.
Especially, I'm going to jump right to this identity thing, but especially as a white male comic.
Okay.
I've got to tell you this, or I would not be doing you justice.
Yeah.
You are in the 90 percentile of all comedians. And so the only way that you can stand out is by talking about what you know about.
Okay.
And you don't look like a dog walker. You look like a cop. But a dog walker is actually complete opposite of a cop is like an asshole, violent, control freak. And a dog walker, you're like at the mercy of 10 dogs.
I just want to say that Barb's opinion does not of cops is not represent the opinion of flappers or
Yes,
anyone
it
else
does.
here.
It represents all. We all. Yes.
Barb's absolutely,
Don't worry,
she's
they're not
absolutely
listening.
right in that as a comedian, especially as a white male comedian, it's really important to do something, especially at the front of your set, that really sets you apart. To give you a hook, to give something to hold on to that makes you unique.
Dog walker's so sweet.
Oh yeah, dog walker. That's something different. That's something that no one's going to be able to talk about but you. When I do stand up, my first joke that I would get out there was talking about my beard because it was something that was not white. It was something It was something that would just set me apart from the last guy they saw. You've got to give some sort of uniqueness to you right up front, so the audience knows where you're coming from. That's not just like everyone else they've already seen.
And I will say this also: if you find yourself saying, "I don't want to talk about that because," then my advice to everyone is, "Oh, well, you better write that down to talk about first."
Yeah.
Because what it means is that you're the one suppressing it because you think it's not interesting. And in reality, it's actually the exact opposite. It's the one thing that we want to know about you more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can talk about taking their car to a mechanic. I don't know a lot of dog walkers. I don't. And I don't know what that's like. And is that a shitty job? Is it a shitty job? I mean,
No, it's pretty
do you
great.
like it? Why is it great? Have you been bit?
No, the dogs are great. The owners sometimes are annoying.
There you go. Why? Why are the owners annoying?
It's just they're real high maintenance. It just seems weird to have to.
So your
text
job is to
somebody.
maintain the
They're
dogs, but it's the
stage
owners
parents.
that are high maintenance.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
freaking stage parents, right?
How was the dog today? Is it okay? It's a dog.
Still a dog.
Yeah, still a dog. Yeah.
It ate. It pooped.
I'm not
I
sure
know
how
a
much I
poop.
believe in dog anxiety.
It performed all three functions that a dog knows
Stuff
how to
like
do.
that.
Oh, they think they have dog anxiety?
Yeah, well, there was one time, there's like a couple, they're great, very nice people, but they told me, the dog gets really nervous, and, they had some pills for him, and they were like, he gets nervous with sounds and, the air conditioning, if the air conditioning comes
Ooh.
on. So, the air conditioning came on when they were gone, and the dog just, looks at me you can't see it on the podcast, but he just looked at it, all he did was look at me. I was like, oh, yeah, this dog's terrified. I have to get him the pills right away.
The dog hears the sound and thinks, oh crap, it's time for that pill to get shoved down my
Yeah,
throat.
yeah, it's like, I better stay cool.
Pavlov's dog, right? Well, see, I'm saying, to me, that is so much more interesting. Not that what were doing, I think the cops angle is good. It sounds like you get arrested a lot. I want to know a little bit more about that.
I'm a dangerous guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got some rich veins in your life to explore comedically.
Cool.
I mean, there's really a lot.
Did
of
you
stuff.
apply for? Here's one question I always have. Did you actually apply for a job as a dog walker?
Yeah.
And how do you get approved for that?
You think he just got stopped on the street? Hey, you've got a wonderful stride.
Yeah, we have to. I know we have to hurry. Josh is saying, "Let's go."
So I sent a picture with my roommate's dog, and then I had 3 interviews. It was real crazy. They said I was really withdrawn, and they wanted me to be more animated with them.
For the
you
dogs?
have to make an impression with the owners, hey, I
You
love
just
your
send a
dog.
picture of yourself with your.
I just did that
dog.
because I thought it would help. Yeah.
It's I'm qualified. I've met a dog.
Yeah,
once.
hey, this dog doesn't seem scared.
I don't think this is a cat at all.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Brendan, I hope this was helpful for you.
It was great.
Thank
Have
you.
me back. I'll talk about dog walking.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Brendan. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah, one more. Guys, keep going for Mr. Brad Silmitzer.
Brad.
Yes, Silmitzer.
I love that his application process for being a dog walker was far more extensive than when I was a high school teacher. It was a phone interview, that's all. Nailed it. I have a buddy, he's real into self-help books. And he asked me to do it with him. I'm not really into that stuff, but I went out and I got the Tony Robbins. And we threw it in the CD player and we started listening, and Tony Robbins says, imagine the man that you want to be. Imagine the man that you want to be. Now draw that man. So we both drew that man. He said, imagine the man that you want to be. Now be that man for one day. Show your group your picture. So my buddy shows me his picture. It's him. He's wearing a suit. He's got a car. He's got a dog. He has a nice job. He has a girlfriend. I show him my picture. It's just me with wings and a sword. 'Cause I'm a whimsical man. Sometimes your whimsy, though, butts heads with your adult responsibilities. Like, if any of you guys ever gotten blackout drunk and bought a Disneyland annual pass you couldn't afford? One time my sister got very drunk and decided that she was going to quit her job and move from Philadelphia to Minneapolis. I got real drunk, decided I was going to quit my job and move from Los Angeles to the magical kingdom. But sometimes in life you get to live out your whimsies. Like a little while ago, I got to go to Comic-Con. I got to work at Comic-Con. I got to live out my dreams of having wings and a sword. But you see some stuff at a thing like Comic-Con that you've never seen before. Like, if any of you guys ever seen a kid lose faith in his father right in front of your eyes, it's devastating and beautiful. Do you guys remember the first time you lost faith in one of your parents? I remember when I lost faith in my dad. I was 9 years old and I saw him get saved by a 14-year-old lifeguard in the public pool. I was sitting there, I was treading water, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna need to figure some stuff out. I'm gonna have to go home and buy TurboTax. So I'm standing there in line at Comic-Con in the bathroom, and there's this kid and his dad, and the kid really needs to go to the bathroom. He's saying, Daddy, I really need to go, I really need to go. So his dad goes to the 5 men in front of him in line and says, hey, my son really needs to go to the bathroom, can he please butt ahead of you? And they all look at each other and they say no. They say no. And then that kid crapped his pants. He shit his pants right in front of me, and in that moment I knew he would never trust his dad again. He didn't even cry. Like I said, devastating and beautiful. But the crazy thing is, this was Comic-Con, this kid was young. So those 5 men in front of him, they weren't men at all. They were Superman. They were Batman. They were the Incredible Hulk. They were Thor. They were Captain America. The world's greatest heroes forcing his dad to make him crap his pants. So I have this vision that this kid's going to go back to school in the fall. He's probably about 3rd grade. He's going to go in and his teacher's going to be like, hey, I need you to write an essay. I need you to do an oral report. And I need you to answer one question for me. Who's your greatest hero? And that kid's just going to look up at his teacher and say, there are no heroes. Guys, I am well aware that my voice doesn't really match my body. I'm like a terribly cast cartoon character. It's just that I have this really tough guy voice and just this gingery, Jewy vessel to carry it around in. It's either the voice of a really tough guy or like a 60-year-old Jewish diner waitress in New Jersey. Here's your bagel. Didn't even need to change it. Doesn't, oh, got the light. All right, that's it for me, guys.
All right. Shillnutzer.
Silnutzer, yeah, it's a rough one.
Silnutzer?
Oh, yeah.
Nutzer?
Nutzer, I know.
Shillnutzer.
Silnutzer.
Could it be any more Jewish?
It's the most Jewish.
Excellent. Thank you so much. What?
That's it. It is a pretty Jewish name.
Silnutzer. I have to phonetically spell it out so I don't mess it up again. Wow, that was fun.
Oh, thanks.
Wasn't that
Good
fun?
stuff.
Yeah. Silly, playful, fun. Are you really a high school teacher?
I used to be. I was a boarding school teacher outside of
God.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
A boarding school teacher.
Yep. I lived in the dorm with 16 to 18-year-old boys when I was just 22 years old.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
40 of them.
Ken, do you have something?
Wow, I mean, I thought you did a really great job up there. I like that you have a very distinct voice, not just vocally, but in who you are. Like, I get a feeling for who your persona is right from the outset, which is great. The stuff about your voice, I would try to get that up earlier in your set because it's such a rich area. It's
Yeah, I
something that
usually
makes you
open with
so
that.
unique. And yeah, you're right. It's the instant thing we're going to be thinking the moment you open your mouth.
Yeah.
Is, wow, this guy's got a really odd voice. Put that into a context for us. And, one of the reasons that you do things like that at the opening of a set is anytime you have something that's different from the status quo, you need to let the audience know that it's okay for us to laugh at.
For sure, for sure.
It also sets up the comic book character type stuff a little bit.
Oh, it does,
too,
yes,
because
absolutely.
it's a little bit of a character-y voice.
Yeah, which I love the comic book stuff, characters, stuff. The thing I really wanted to hear so much more about was the 14-year-old body, the 14-year-old lifeguard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I was dying when you said, I wanted you to go so much further in that. I wanted to hear what you were thinking, describe the scenario, paint the picture. How did your dad deal with the humiliation of that? Like, that's a fantastic scenario. I love it. I want to hear so much more about that.
And I have a totally nitpicky note, but because I actually think you're a great writer, and I think you have a great act, and I bet you're a solid feature. Yeah.
Not really, but
No?
I mean, I think I'm a
You
solid
could be.
feature.
If
Yeah.
a club owner tells you you're a solid feature, say yes.
Sorry, yes.
I think. I mean, how much time do you do really? It's okay,
No, I've
be
done over
honest.
30 before, so.
Okay. I mean, I could see you carrying that.
Yeah.
But here's my one little nitpicky note. It just sounds a little rehearsed to me. And it's such an easy thing to fix, though. I
Yeah.
mean, because the structure is there, but I could tell that you were reciting your jokes word for word.
For sure.
So, and that's such, if you can just get rid of that, then it's going to be brilliant.
There's actually a really easy exercise
Great.
that will help you break out
I
of
have
that.
one
This is
too.
one that
Perfect.
this is one I always give students when they have this problem. Go to an open mic, somewhere that's an open mic where it's comfortable to work stuff out. You don't have to worry about being seen. You can just be free in what you're doing. If they give you, say, 5 minutes, what you want to do is pick your absolute 2 best jokes in your set. You're going to open with one joke and close with the best joke. In between those jokes, you have no written material. For
Yeah.
one show,
I like that.
give yourself permission to go with no written material. The reason you bookend it with those 2 jokes is you know that no matter what, you're going to win them at the beginning, and no matter how bad it gets, you'll be able to win them back at the end. It gives you the freedom to explore and fail. And failing in comedy and failing on stage is how we learn. It's how we get better.
For sure.
And I have an exercise too, which, because we're always practical here, is I call it the cab ride. And if you haven't heard me say this before, but take a cab ride. It's worth $5-7, you know? Just go from here to the Burbank Airport or wherever. And find a way to get out, like your first joke even, without telling the cab driver you're a comedian.
Ooh, nice.
Right? So you have to somehow be like, oh, where does the guy with a Weasley voice whose body doesn't match look for a good time in Burbank?
Yeah,
or
for
you know,
sure.
so and you cannot, you cannot deliver it weirdly because you wouldn't do that in normal conversation.
Right.
And you can also do that at the grocery store when you're
Ooh.
checking out with the bags.
It's a great exercise.
Same thing. Pull out another one and just think, without telling them, no, you can't say, I'm going to tell a joke now, or I'm a comedian. You just do that material. I was a high school, I lived with a board, paper or plastic. Oh my God, I remember plastic, when I had to shove it over a kid's head when I was a teacher in boarding school. So it just, you find new ways to get that material out.
There was no sense of exaggeration when she said
I just love the very
fully
violent
believe that
idea of my
happened.
I
teaching
hate
style.
kids. I hate kids. I mean,
That's
and
so funny.
I was a kids club host, so I didn't hate kids then, but I hate kids now. No. Anyway, so but overall, that really, I think with tuning that up a little bit, you could really have a nice character that is something that we had a festival this week, and all of the talk was about point of view and really understanding who the comic is, and I think that we get a really good sense of that from you. And I would love if just you can make it a little more conversational
Yeah, for
and
sure.
organic.
That's a great note. Thank
and
you.
Other than that, I mean, you look young. You have the ginger thing is great. The geekiness is great. I mean, there's so much there, and I loved you a lot.
Cool, thank
I
you.
enjoyed
Really
it.
good.
Yeah, I don't mean to be Paula Abdul, but I
No, great. No, it was great.
Josh,
And
anything?
just to add to that, I always, because I've been I've seen you a lot at the mics, and I feel like you a big strength you've always had is stage presence. But this was really, I think you've come a long way in your material, and
thank you.
that it's very well, it's well put together, but it doesn't feel well put together. It feels organic. Yeah, and I think I'm just very
Gingery, Jewy vessel. I mean, just your word choices were really, really
Yeah.
nice. And I agree with Ken early up front with that stuff. Will give you even more license to play around with the way you sound and look.
It's easier to,
Yeah.
like when you're talking about the dad and, how he's, his child's lost faith in him, it's easier to make fun of other people once the audience has already heard you make fun of yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, hey, you know what? I laugh at me too. Let's go attack some people who are here. The audience buys into it.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Brad Schilnutzer.
Close enough.
Nice.
Silnutzer.
Silnutzer. Damn it! I always
You
put
and the
sh.
sh.
I
Yeah.
call him Schneider, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Schneider. So that was. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much
for
for having
joining
me.
us.
Good
We
job.
really appreciate it. Oh, do you have a Twitter, Brad?
Oh, it's at Brad Lives Dreams.
Great! Oh, perfect. At Brad Lives Dreams. I love it. Oh, what a fun day we had.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, who are headliners this week?
Well,
Mr.
all right, in Burbank.
Snyder. Snyder. I'm kidding. Who in Burbank? Ladies again.
Yes, ladies, we have Sarah Colonna from Chelsea Lately on Friday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
She couldn't be here today because it's the last day of Chelsea taping.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
So
And on Saturday we have Fortune Feimster, also from Chelsea Lately.
and
on
Last
Saturday,
Comic
8 p.m.
Standing.
Yes.
Oh,
Very funny.
hilarious, ladies.
And then in Burbank we have Chris Voth.
no, in Claremont, you mean?
Yes, in Claremont.
Sorry, he
Sorry,
confused
Claremont.
Burbank
We
and
have
Claremont.
Chris Voth.
In Claremont,
Claremont.
Chris
Voth and Claremont.
Voth. C for Chris.
Feimster and Kelowna.
So it's a whole last comic
Burbank.
weekend.
It's a lot of
Just
weird
come,
last names.
come to Flappers in Burbank and then go to Flappers in Claremont. You can just have
If
a
you
whole
want
weekend.
titties, come to Burbank. If you want pee-pee, go to...
And we get free ShamWows for everybody this weekend.
Sure,
right?
yeah, let's
no,
promise
no,
that.
no.
Everybody look under their
No, free
chairs.
stickies. What's I don't even know what a sticky is.
I'll bring one in. I've got some sitting in my garage.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
Please bring me a sticky.
Well, I hope we provided enough background noise for Brent to finish his work.
and Ken,
His manifesto is almost done.
Ken Pringle, we welcome you to the Flappers family and look forward to a long, long career with you and Flappers University.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the FlappCast. I'm Barbara Holiday.
I'm Joshua Snyder.
I was Ken Pringle.
Was Ken Pringle?
Was.
Was was.
Are you dead? What?
That was great. Was that fun?
Yeah.
Isn't it fun? I told you. Sticky. What is a sticky?
It's a reusable liquid.
It is?
Yes, they're actually pretty
Oh,
cool.
I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, it's the liquid where it touches water and everything falls off of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
how much is
that's
that?
we used to sell the sets for $20.
Two stickies?
No, it's 3.
You get 3 stickies.